Hi guys, my name is Michelle Renee, but you all know me as Giggles. So this is more of a very casual chat video talking about all of my roles on Mrcreepypasta'S channel. I keep getting a lot of comments that you guys discovered me through Lilly Madwip, and a lot of people have the same kind of comment. They'll be saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to have discovered you. It's so nice to see new narrators like you on YouTube." And the funny thing about that is I've actually been on YouTube for 10 years, and I just only kind of recently started getting a little bit bigger because of Lilly Madwip. So I figured that today we would talk about other roles that I've had on Mrcreepypasta'S channel, some of which might surprise you. So I have these cards in front of me that have the name of the character that I played and the title of the creepypasta that I'm going to be taping to my closet back here. I only went with roles that had names. There's like a couple of things I've done that like don't have names, like some random girl, or like I was Vulpix in like a Poke Pasta one time, and you know, so I'm only going with things that are named, and we're just gonna take a little bit of time and talk about them. And I'll have you know, I'm a voice actor, so I have this entire playlist on YouTube for projects that have been posted there, and I save every single one that I have had a part of on that playlist. So I went way back, and I tried to get them in best chronological order as I could. So without further ado, let's look at the first one that you guys may or may not know. Brownie points if you do know this and if you remember it and what year it came out, because I definitely don't. I was Emily in My Dead Girlfriend Keeps Messaging Me on Facebook. So with this role, I'll be honest, I don't remember it a whole lot, but I do remember this being a very popular creepypasta. And I think at the time, other narrators had also been doing this. A lot of like more popular narrators back in the day had been like hounding this. It was just such a great story and everyone wanted to do it. And then I think at some point, a video got taken down or something, and then like a year or two later, Mrcreepypasta was like, "Hey, I'm gonna redo this creepypasta. Do you want to be the dead girlfriend in it?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to be a dead girlfriend." Don't take that seriously. And I do remember being really excited because, you know, like Mrcreepypasta and I are friends, and we have been friends for a very long time, for like pretty much 10 years. But back then, you know, I was just starting out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was so kind of him to give me this opportunity to show myself and get myself out there. And, you know, I wanted to do the best that I could for the story and for my friend. Whenever I voice act for a friend, it's always more of a favor than it is like I'm expecting you to give me a whole lot back in return. But so I treated it like that. But I was also excited that maybe some people in the comments would be like, "Oh my goodness, who is that girl?" I was excited about that, and it was an honor because I think this was one of my very first roles I ever did for him. So this next role, I would not stop bragging about this role for a long time. Not because I was like on my friend's big channel or anything, but because I was a character that I revered so much, even though it wasn't like really the character. So I think this was in like 2014, winter of 2014. So back then, MCP and some other narrators liked to make these comic audio drama. They were like obviously like fan written stories, audio dramas that were based off of DC Comics. And there, this one year, let me see who it starred. We had Batman in it, we had Superman, we had a couple of other characters in it. I don't think we had a Joker that year. But you know what villain we had? We had Jervis Tetch's Mad Hatter, and I was the Alice that he was obsessed with. And so the way that this all came to be was MCP came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you know how much you like Alice in Wonderland?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Do you want to be Alice in this video I'm doing?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes." And he was like, "Great, you're the one that gets kidnapped by the Mad Hatter in the Batman universe." And I was like, "Oh, that guy? Oh, I remember him. He's creepy." But I did it anyway because I need to get as many Alices as possible on my resume. I'm a huge fan of fairy tales, and one of my favorite ones is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So of course I took it. Ow. It was so fun to do. I remember not being very polished as an actress back then, so I like tried a couple of different things, like I mispronounced some things, and I was trying to really sell that she had gone crazy. That was like what she was in this fan-made audio drama. The guy that they got to play the Jervis Tetch Mad Hatter, you might have heard him on my channel a couple of times. I love him to death. His name is Hooty. I had him play the cop in I Hate Calculus, and I Think I Just Killed Somebody. That story about the girl who hates calculus and she killed a cop. He was the cop. So he was the Mad Hatter that had to kidnap my Alice, and Hooty is an incredible voice actor. He seriously traumatized me from that role, because when I finally listened to the product, I was like, oh my gosh, he's coming after me! And then I'm pretty sure there's like footage somewhere else on YouTube of all of us playing Don't Starve together, and he was tormenting me in the Mad Hatter voice, and everyone was chasing me, and he was like screaming at me in that voice, and it terrified me, and he was just fantastic. And outside of that, he's like the sweetest person ever, so it's really hilarious because he can just flip the switch and become this incredibly well-delivered character. Would I be this version of Alice again? Probably, yeah. I hate to admit it, but the Mad Hatter is a pretty good villain, and this was like a small role like compared to all the other ones in that audio drama, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and I would probably take this character again. This role was a complete surprise because it was a very popular creepypasta at the time, and we were doing it with a pretty big name, well, I think big name voice actor named Chuck Huber. And I was playing the main character's best friend, Daisy, whom Chuck Huber's character, Jason the Toymaker, murders. So something I like to joke about with other voice actors that I meet, if it comes up and it's relevant, is I like to go, oh, I was in a thing with that guy where he killed me, so I can officially say that Stein from Soul Eater murdered me. I don't remember what year this was. This might have been before I did Heathers the musical. This was such a fun character. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. It's so funny. Like, I have to tell you really quick, whenever I'm doing Lilly Madwip, a lot of people comment, I see tons of comments saying, does this girl sound like Clementine from Walking Dead to anybody else? And at first, because no one was clarifying Walking Dead, I thought they meant this creepypasta that my friends wrote. It was for this game that they were trying to make. So a while ago, MCP and some of our other friends made this one called The Gold Rush Saloon, and I did play a little girl named Clementine in it. And to be fair, I have no idea who this Walking Dead Clementine character is. I've never really watched the show, and I've never played the games. So I had no idea that there was another little girl out there named Clementine. I thought they were talking about this one. I believe it was one of the first things that I ever got to collaborate with Comic Drake on. He was the guy, spoiler alert. So in this creepypasta, Comic Drake was the cowboy that Clementine kills. So I reached out to Comic Drake after we had like met each other in person by this point, like, you know, because I visited Texas a couple of times and we all went to the cons together and we did karaoke and hung out. And so I had met Comic Drake, and I asked him, hey, I murdered you in this story. Do you want to be in a creepypasta on my channel where you get to murder me? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I remember this very fondly because it was one of the first things I got to do with another friend, and that was really cool. I also just like the premise of it with like the cowboys being a little spooked by this random little girl that's just hanging out outside. It's one of my many perks. I do innocence horror. I'm so good at playing that unassuming character that it's terrifying when she snaps. No, now I'm sure of it. They did make a board game of that, and I have played it. Okay, now we're really starting to get into it. So this is where I think people really started to recognize me in Mrcreepypasta'S videos. I was the main character of this one, and it was a hidden lore creepypasta, and I got to be Tabitha. And this was probably one of my favorite roles I've played on his channel, because I think by this point I was very much honed in my acting skills enough to start making very bold choices. And so I don't really know the hidden lore stuff, or I don't really play Inky and the Machine. Inky and, you know what I'm trying to say, that game. MCP told me about it, and he gave me kind of a brief idea, and he gave me a brief context to who Tabitha really was, and he told me to have fun with it, so I had fun with it. And I developed this voice that I thought was very old-timey and very Snow White and ingenue, and I think people seemed to really like it from what I remember. Well, now I'm remembering all the people that were like, I don't like her voice, and that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I remembered having so much fun with this, and I remember intentionally putting in like that Snow White feel to it based off of the script, and then people started commenting, oh my gosh, it's kind of like Snow White when you really think about it. And yeah, I really adore this role. It's one of the roles that I wish I could have done like on film, because I don't know, something about Tabitha really resonated with me, and I was glad that I got to voice her, even though it's like nothing like huge like La La Land or, you know, like other film things, but I was like, this would be such a good plot for a movie, you know, as the person who doesn't know anything about hidden lore or Inky and the Machine, you know. I really liked her because she was an actress and she wanted to make it. And having gone on auditions myself, MCP was asking me, like, what's it like to audition? Like, in voiceover, do they have callbacks? And I was like, not usually. And, you know, like, we were trying to figure out the script, and he figured out a way to make it the way it is today, and I really liked it. And I was like, this is so scary because this is so real, the auditioning process, especially in Los Angeles, which is, you know, where I live. I was like, wow, imagine if I had this experience. That would be, you know, well, if you don't know, you gotta go listen to it. Now, so a couple people started hearing me and recognizing me in that one, but this is where people really started recognizing me. And this is where I kind of started to see an increase in my subscribers, and I started getting a little more popular. Not that I'm very popular, I just started getting a little bit. I want to make it very clear that I don't do things a lot for subscribers. If you like me, you'll like me. If you don't, that's okay. But I will say that this one made half of my audience either really hate me or really love me. And that is Madison by Unsettling Stories in that whole series. Imagine you're me, a valley girl. Your friend comes up to you and asks, hey, do you want to be a valley girl? This character was so fun to be. Like, I can't even describe it. She was so irritating and obnoxious, and I just had so much fun being her. And she was so well written for, like, you know, like an older man who like has no experience, you know, having ovaries. You know, he did fantastically well writing from the perspective of a teenage girl, and I thought that she was just the funniest caricature. I was like, I love this chick. I wanted to like be her in my improv classes. And then I was like, no, I can't, because then I'd have to tell unsettling stories, and I don't want to be his character without his permission outside of his story, you know. But oh my gosh, yeah, I love Madison. There'll be times where I will go out of my way when I'm scrapbooking or not listening to anything in particular, and I'll just put on this entire playlist and I'll listen to it and laugh at these lines that I no longer remember, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that, you know? It's just so funny. And he really did make like the best one-liners. This was also, I think, the very first series that MCP had me do. And in a way, I had to self-direct. Okay, like to clarify, so all of these ones before MCP was directing me, I'd be like, come on, bud, what's my motivation? You know, being the silly thing. And he'd always tell me, and then when it started getting here, like after the first episode, he was like, I think you have a good instinct. His poor editors, like at the time, I still wanted to make sure I was doing the character justice and that I was doing it diligently and that it would be delivered funnily enough. So I did multiple takes of several lines. And I think that really killed his editors. Sorry, Hells. Sorry, Audionic. I loved Madison, and part of me is still really hoping for some sort of hilarious crossover. If only I could get Will Dalphin and Unsettling Stories to collaborate for a show, a one-woman show that I can voice both characters. I'm not doing it for the vanity, I just think that would be a really funny crossover. This one I don't think a lot of people really recognize that I was in it. So I've probably said it on the channel a couple times before, so MCP has told me that he goes to me when he needs a younger sounding girl voice, and he goes to our friend Autumn Ivy for an older sounding girl voice. And with this story, we all got to be in it together, and I just thought that was really cute. MCP has also always been like a big brother to me. I've said that a lot on this channel because he's just been a very, very, very supportive and wonderful friend to me. And so in this story, I played Rose, the magic show from hell, and I was his character's little sister, and his best friend, I believe, was played by Autumn. And it was a very interesting story that I will not further elaborate on because it is a little bit more recent, and I don't know if other people have really heard it or if they just joined his channel and they haven't listened to it, but this was a really good one, and I think you'll like it. I wonder what this last one could be. So before I give you the last big surprise reveal, whoop, I will say that there has obviously been way more characters that I've played on his channel. These are just all the ones that I could remember that had names. There's probably some that I'm forgetting, honestly, that were named too, and that's my bad. I wish I could talk to you guys about the ones that I can't remember because I feel like it would just show how long I've been around and just be a little extra funny that next time that you see a comment that's like, oh my gosh, a new narrator, Giggles just started narrating. But I digress. So the last one is Lilly Madwip from the Lilly Madwip series. So I actually have Madison and Lilly on my resume and on my website that I pass around to like agents and like people looking to cast people because obviously when you narrate, it's like a giant monologue, and I feel like they showcase my acting abilities very well. Lilly Madwip became a huge blessing to me, and this was also like, you know, how I mentioned with Madison, MCP was giving me direction on that first episode, and then he just let me do whatever I needed to do after that. So it was the same with this. So he gave me some direction, he gave me the context for Lilly Madwip, and I was like, huh, okay, yeah, I can play that. And then after that first episode, he was like, I think you have a good instinct, don't ask me anymore, I think you got it, you know, like, I want to see what you can do with it. So I was like, all right, and then that's how we got this giant masterpiece brought to us by Mr. Will Dalphin. I've probably also said this in another video before, like a Q&A or like my thank you for appreciating season 1 of Lilly Madwip or something, but we actually didn't know it was a series, so he really just asked me to narrate the first one, and then I thought it was great, so I somehow ended up on Reddit where it was, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a second part, and a third part, and a fourth part, and a fifth, and a seventh, and an 18th, and, you know, so I was like, hey, I was like, there's more of these, do you want to do them? And he was like, yeah, so now we have it. The funniest thing about it, maybe I should make a separate video of me reacting to comments or something on the Lilly Madwip videos, because comments don't really bother me, which is so funny because they used to bother me so much as a kid. I feel like if I had been Lilly Madwip by this point in my acting career, I'd be really hurt by some of the stuff that people say in the comments, but like, I don't know, I guess that's a blessing from God that I've chilled out and that I'm not so easily offended by that stuff. Actually, my favorite thing to do when a new Lilly Madwip episode comes out is seeing the people who are like, I don't like her voice, and then I like responding to them going, it's okay. Like, obviously if you don't have something nice to say, you should keep it to yourself, but I also feel like if I say it's okay and I reaffirm that, you know, it's okay to have your own opinion, that they don't feel so inclined to leave a negative comment on something, and, you know, because people have bad days, and I think that that just kind of spreads a little bit of positivity and grace and compassion, and maybe it'll help them have a nicer day. And that's definitely happened a couple times where somebody will comment like this really mean thing or something on a Lilly Madwip video, and I'll be like, hey, like, it's okay, like, if you don't like this video, you can just go and watch another one. And then they'll respond, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't think you would see this, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, it's okay, you don't have to freak out. And sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of gives me the giggles. No, but in all seriousness, I also really like seeing other comments too, the positive ones, saying like, oh my goodness, you're such a great actress, you do the inflection so well, you actually sound like a little girl. That's a huge compliment to me. I'm glad that I can be a successful actress and immerse you in the world that is Lilly Madwip, the girl that can see things before they happen. It's so funny looking back at how much things changed from that first episode, because, you know, we didn't know it would be a series, so MCP did the male voices in that very first episode, and then after that it was all me. I think he really just got tired of doing the voices, and he wanted to save the editors some time and, you know, not having to put so many voices together so that, you know, they could pump out more things sooner. But I also think it's a smart decision, because I feel like it's all just Lilly writing in her diary, so that's kind of how I play it. It's her, like, talking to herself and telling the viewer. So I like the decision for that, but I also found the challenge was really interesting, because all of a sudden I was just a little girl and maybe the little girl's mom, and then I was the little girl and this weasel looking guy and another little girl and these like monsters, and then like this witch lady, and you know, so I really got to exercise my vocal cords with this, and I am proud of that. There's a point in time where, as a young actress, I really hated monologuing. It was really scary, it was long, it was hard to memorize, it was hard to deliver, and everybody was watching me and listening to me and judging me. So I feel sort of empowered now that a bunch of people are listening to these like giant monologues, and they're actually into listening to me like deliver it, and that they point out, they're like, oh my goodness, like your acting does this so much justice. Like, you have no idea how much of a compliment that is to me. So I really appreciate that. I'm not trying to say I'm like the best actress in the world or anything, but like to a kid who like started out voice acting online, it like means the world that I could be shown that like people actually appreciate what I do, and that they acknowledge that it's the acting. And yeah, so I also really like the fan art that people send me. It doesn't happen super often, but it happens like every once in a great big while, and I think it is so sweet. Those should go to Will Dolphin, by the way, because he's the one who like made the character and wrote the entire series and stuff. But whenever people send it to me, whenever I get one, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. When I was a kid, I always thought that people would be interested in me as a voice actor if they had a visual to the character, like if I was a character in like SpongeBob or Powerpuff Girls, you know, things like that. But it really cracks me up that people like a character that they can just put in the theater of the mind and still really enjoy my voice acting, so that's really nice. So I just appreciate you guys so much. Especially because I used to think that my voice was really obnoxious, and I know that some people think that and they agree with that, and that's okay too. There was also a time in the beginning of Lilly Madwip where I had commented on the video and I said, thank you so much for having me play Lilly, it's an honor, you know, that kind of thing. And then this one person was like, you're not Lilly Madwip, Giggles the Clown is. And then some other people were saying, I can't believe you got Giggles the Clown, Giggles the Clown, oh, I love Giggles the Clown. And that's my bad, like, because I think I might have asked him to credit me as Giggles, like just Giggles. I probably should have clarified LittleBallOfGiggles. But so I was saying, no, it's me, like I do the voice. If you go to my channel, you can literally hear my voice. So this one person was like, you're not Giggles the Clown, you're a liar and you're being silly. And then like maybe an hour or something later, he commented back and he was like, oh my gosh, it's actually you, I'm so sorry. And that was hilarious. I wasn't mad at him or anything, it's an honest mistake. If anything, I felt really bad for him because he probably felt really embarrassed, and I don't like it when other people feel embarrassed over me. So I was like, no, it's okay, it happens, now you know, but I thought that that was really, really funny. So yeah, those are all of the named roles on MCP's channel that I can remember anyways at the moment. Thanks for sitting down to chat with me. I hope that you guys check some of these out and keep an ear out and go, oh my gosh, that really is her. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have a prayer request, don't be afraid to contact me or leave a comment with it. I would love to know how I can be praying for you. And I hope that you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.